Welcome back to Standard Living. We got a job we're working on right now for a 16-foot 1x6s. This job's been on the list for a couple of weeks now. We've been slowly working our way to this job, getting other jobs out of the way, but we're finally at it now. So we gotta get it knocked out, get this over to the customer so they can get their fence together. Because every minute this mill isn't producing, that's money walking out the door. I had a question the other day that I thought was kind of vague and kind of silly, to be honest with you. But the question was, how do you keep a sawmill running and profitable? At the moment, I didn't know how to answer that on the fly. I did know how to answer it, but it's too many variables really to just throw one good answer out there. Now, there are a handful of habits that'll keep your sawmill cutting, keep your customers happy, and keep money flowing. So today, while I fill this order, I want to tell you the 5 biggest things that helps me stay productive and helps me avoid costly downtimes here at my sawmill. Now, tip number 1 is going to be blades. Actually, we're not going to call them tips. We're going to call them rules. So rule number 1 is sharp blades. Now, if there's one thing you don't cheap out on, or you don't want to cheap out on, it's your blades for your sawmill. I know there's some of you out there who run your blades till there ain't nothing left of them, till they're just completely destroyed. But a good sharp blade is one of the most important things on a sawmill. When you start feeling that blade get dull, go ahead and swap it out. Don't waste time struggling through a log with a dull blade and producing wavy lumber that the customer's not going to want. That's one good way to lose money and customers. No matter what brand it is completely designed around cutting with a sharp sawmill blade. We're going to call this a sawmill survival guide. And the reason I put sharp sawmill blades as the number 1 rule on this list is because a dull sawmill blade is the fastest way to lose money with your sawmill. And it's the easiest thing you can fix to make your sawmill more efficient. So next time you're running a sawmill blade that you know is about finished, before you ask yourself, can I get one more log out of it? Ask yourself this, am I still making money with that sawmill blade? Now, going back to sharp blades only helps if the rest of the sawmill is ready to work. And that takes me to rule number 2. Maintenance is always cheaper than repairs. And one of the simple and obvious things that sometimes we overlook is greasing our sawmill and keeping it oiled up and lubed. Because greasing a sawmill only takes a few minutes, while replacing bearings can take hours, days, or sometimes weeks waiting on parts. And trust me, everything I'm telling you here, I didn't learn from somebody else. I learned from my own experience. Another good habit to get into is check your blade guide bearings every day. I know I just had some issues with these, and I replaced them twice in the last few months. And they're sealed bearings, so you can't necessarily grease them when you want to. But keep an eye on them. Make sure when they get loose to go ahead and get you an extra set of bearings on the way, or keep some on hand so downtime's at a minimum. If you've been following this channel along, you know I just went for a full week without my sawmill because of those bearings were down. I had to go make special shafts for them because I was too stubborn to order extra shafts. But we got that fixed. We're up and running again. I'm going to make sure I got extra parts on hand for next time that thing breaks down, because it will break down on you. Because these parts are pretty much consumables, and no matter how much you take care of them, eventually they will wear down on you. And another thing to keep an eye on is your belt tension. Make sure your belt is always tight every time you pull these covers off or change a blade. Because if that thing gets loose and you're in the middle of a big log and it smokes that belt, because if you throw a belt, you're probably going to throw a blade too. And it's going to destroy that blade and possibly destroy your sawmill covers. Keep an eye out for any frays or tears in the belt. This one right here is starting to fray a little bit right now. I'm gonna go ahead and change this out soon. I'm gonna get a few more cuts out of it because I know it's not gonna break on me, but as you can see, it is starting to wear. The top is getting flat and it is starting to have some fraying right there. But change those belts out when they need to be replaced, not after they break. Now I try to keep extra belts on hand. I usually buy them in 3 packs if I can. If not, I'll make sure I have 1 or 2 extras on the shelf just in case. But as long as your belt is nice and tight, it should last you a good long while. Another good habit is your bolts. This is a bolt together mill. This is a Norwood. This entire mill is held together with bolts. Make sure your bolts are tight. Don't let these things get loose. Don't let it turn into a broken part. Tighten them up early and you'll avoid a lot of headache later on. Now I just went through with the impact recently and went over this entire sawmill. I try to do it once every 2 or 3 months just to make sure nothing's falling apart and nothing's coming loose on me. Now hardly ever does anything come loose on it, but I'd rather know everything's tight now than have to pay for a part later because a bolt fell out and something broke. And you're not always going to find every single problem before something breaks. So it's very important to learn to listen to your sawmill. Learn to feel how it's cutting, how it's supposed to cut, how it's supposed to sound. So when you hear something off or you feel something different, you know it's time to do some maintenance on your sawmill. Because finding a problem before a breakdown is a huge win in my book. Now, preventative maintenance is not very exciting, but breakdowns are really expensive, and I've learned the hard way. This log right here is going to make some beautiful 1x6s. And so far we got a couple of bores over here to run through the edger, which brings me to rule number 3. Make every log count. And just remember, your profit on these logs starts even before the first cut. It really is good to study your logs before you even plan out what you're going to be cutting. Once you've determined the size of the lumber you need to produce, then you'll want to study the logs you have to work with and make sure you choose the best log for the job. Because logs can come in a million different ways. They can have knots, they can have splits, they can have cat faces. And every job doesn't require a perfect log. In some jobs it's okay to have knots, it's okay to have cracks. It just depends on what it is. But a lot of times, if you had to buy that lumber for that particular job, what kind of quality would you want to pay for? And if you choose the best quality lumber you can get, then that's probably what your customer's going to want also. Determine what you're trying to produce, study your log good, and choose a log that's right for the job. Now I can throw a little bonus tip in there too, because I've caught myself doing it countless times. It's finding a really bad log, something with a cat face or something that's just not going to produce anything, and you keep on cutting it, hoping to find that perfect board out of it. That really is a waste of time, waste of effort, waste of money, wear and tear on your blades and sawmill. Just dump that log off in firewood and move on to the next log. You'll save yourself a lot of time and heartache doing that. And another thing we've been working hard on this past year is waste isn't always waste. Now if you look at the slab pile behind me, it is full of trimmings and cuttings from the edger. But this slab pile behind me used to grow so fast because we threw away everything that we thought was waste or things we didn't want to throw back on the sawmill or edge. Now can you pick out the good lumber in this pile right here? These 3 right here are going in the slab pile. That one is going right over there to the edger. Now I know everybody out there doesn't have an edger. We're really lucky to have one. This thing has changed our world down here at the sawmill. But even if we didn't have that edger, I think at this point I would start edging a lot more lumber on the sawmill. Just because now I finally realize how much more productivity we can get by edging down these flitches and slabs and producing a lot more usable lumber and making a lot more money from the scraps. Now edging all our slab lumber and flitches around here has been one of the most rewarding things we've done here at our sawmill. And this year we're pushing it harder than ever. We're about to get a storm. And if you're one of the ones who already sees the benefit of edging your own lumber, it may be time to upgrade to an edger. This Range Rover board edger here is the best thing we've ever done here down at this sawmill. And we just got finished with a job running about 1,000 boards to the edger for a customer. And with the right customer base, it can produce just as much money as this sawmill can. And if these slabs right here were hardwood, I'd be saving this for firewood for the winter. And now having this range road board edger, where I used to see slabs, I now see money in inventory. And rule number 4 is downtime is your biggest expense. And as I mentioned this one, it's about to pour down rain and it's gonna give me downtime. And every minute that sawmill is sitting still, it is not producing money. And weather is a big one and we don't have a saw shed. So yes, every time it pours rain, that's downtime for us and it costs us money. We really need a saw shed. But there's other factors too. The log yard can get completely muddy. Your skid steers, tractors, they can get stuck. Your logs can be waterlogged out somewhere where they can't be reached. But weather is a big factor when it comes to downtime. It can put you down for a week sometimes. So if this is your full-time job and you plan on making money with your sawmill day in and day out, build a saw shed. I'm one to talk. And having a saw shed, it also helps you keep your equipment out of the weather. And weather can really have an effect on your longevity of your sawmill and other equipment around the sawmill. And this rule also falls in line with the preventative maintenance. And that's one of the reasons I'm building this little building right here. So I can keep spare parts, blade sharpeners, extra blades, everything right here in one place, right next to the sawmill to keep this mill sawing as efficiently as I can. But keeping spare parts, extra blades, extra bearings, extra belts, all the things that are gonna break on the sawmill, I say gonna because it's gonna break, but keep all that stuff extra on hand if you can. If you plan to produce money with your sawmill and you're working that thing a full-time job, keep all the spare parts you can on hand. It'll save you a lot of headache. Sometimes these companies are quick about sending parts out. A lot of times you can get them next day. But if you're in the middle of a job and you have a breakdown or a bearing that goes out and you can't just throw another one on there and continue the job, that's a lot of money you can lose. Every single hour this sawmill is sitting is an hour you're not billing the customer. And this rule is really important because it doesn't just cover your sawmill. It covers other equipment like your skid steer, your tractor, the way you get logs to this mill, your edger, different equipment, your sawmill truck, and chainsaws, and anything else that you use the sawmill to produce lumber and make money. And I'll be honest with you, I've screwed the pooch several times on big jobs, last minute jobs I could have easily finished out and got paid for, but I ran out of gas. Those simple, stupid things like running out of gas can put you down and make you lose money. I've done it a bunch of times. I've done it in videos. If you look at some of my older videos, you'll see me run out of gas with a sawmill. Luckily, I usually have a 5-gallon can full of gas on it somewhere around here. We do have the big fuel cell back there, but that's diesel. That's for the Bobcat. My sawmill runs on gas, my edger runs on gas, my sawmill truck and my saws run on gas, although we do have some electric chainsaws now. But try to always keep a 5-gallon can of gas laying around somewhere around the sawmill, somewhere accessible where you're not spending an hour or 2 hours running to the store to fill up a gas can to get back here to finish out a job for a customer who's waiting on you. Because I'll tell you, I've had some pretty frustrating moments where I ran out of gas and I could have simply went to the gas station the day before, filled a can up, and not have had that problem. Which reminds me, it's time to go get some gas. But yeah, silly things like that. Be prepared. Poor planning can be one of the worst things you can do for a sawmill or any business. Because if you plan poorly, you get poor results, which in turn makes you poor. So try to remember, keep spare parts, keep extra fuel, keep extra grease, all the common consumables you're going to run out of. Try to keep some extra on hand, because that is one of the most frustrating things in the world. It'll really save you some future headaches. I probably should have never opened my mouth. Oh well, we're not in a rush on this job, so. But there you have it. That's one prime example right there. Right after I say it, I run out of gas. and I knew I was getting low, but I decided to make you guys a video this morning. So I didn't go get gas this morning. But there's the result. If that had been a last minute job or someone waiting, that would have been lost money. Well, since I just proved number 4 can affect you when you least expect it, we're going to move on to number 5. And rule number 5 is the best one of all. And if you're running a sawmill business and you really plan to make money and make this your full-time job, I think number 5 is one of the most important things most people overlook. Number 5, sell more than just lumber. If you go on places like the Facebook and other places where people are arguing about pricing or wanting to know what the best price is for lumber and how to price their lumber out, and the best way to sell their boards, is it better to sell custom lumber, is it better to sell lumber packs, the list goes on. But it's all about just lumber and selling boards. What I don't see a lot of is people asking what other ways can they make money besides just selling the board. There's a lot of people out there who leave a lot of money on the table by just trying to sell their lumber, just trying to sell the boards. But there's a whole lot more to this industry instead of selling the board. You're selling a convenience. And like this job I'm doing right now, cutting these 2x6s for a fence job, stacking them up, and when I get done with this job, I'm going to be loading them on that trailer and taking them to the customer and dropping them off. Now it's only about 15 miles from here, but charging $2 a mile one way, that's 30 bucks on the table there. And I could have easily told them to just come pick this wood up when it's done and not even worry about it. That's $30 more I can make. And I got to go to town anyway, so I may as well make some money while I'm on the way up there. But I do have other jobs where people want me to carry this stuff 100 miles away, and that's an extra 200 bucks I can make. And some of these jobs, I have to make multiple trips, so that's just more money I can make. But delivering your lumber is a convenience, and if you're not offering it, that's money you're leaving on the table. And sometimes at the sawmill, we're way too busy to go deliver lumber, so those are times they have to come pick up their own lumber or schedule for a later date or a weekend. And if they're in a super big rush, you can charge a premium for that service. And it's not something you have to charge for the mile for. You can actually work it into the lumber price if it works better that way. And another convenience is straight line edging. Whether you're using an edger or your sawmill to edge lumber, a lot of times people just need lumber cut down to certain sizes, lumber they may already have. You can charge for that service because a lot of times they don't have the time or they don't have the equipment to straight line edge a piece of lumber. And if you've ever had a big piece of lumber, a wavy piece of lumber, or something that has some bark on the ends of it, it's hard to throw it just through a table saw and get a straight edge on it. So straight line edging lumber on a sawmill, either one, it's a convenience you could be selling, and it's money you're missing out on if you're not offering that service. And another thing that goes hand in hand with that is if you have a big planer or even a small planer, you could be offering planer services. I know most people sell rough cut lumber, but a lot of times people will pay an extra $1 for a plain finished board. So if you've got a planer and you're not offering that service, you're losing money. So next time you're on Facebook Marketplace putting your lumber ads out or your specialty sawmill services, go ahead and throw your ad up for planing and edging services. I think you'll be surprised. There's a lot of people out there looking for just that. It's all a service and a convenience for the customer. Even loading lumber. We don't charge for loading lumber, but we do it. We load lumber for a lot of these people. If I can load it with a bobcat, it's great. But a lot of times we end up loading it by hand. Now this is a big convenience, especially for older and elderly people who can't really lift all this stuff by themselves. And if it's a big order, one person comes to pick up, they don't want to have to pick these boards up by themselves. And if they go to Home Depot or Lowe's, they're going to be rolling a big cart out full of lumber and load it themselves in the back of a truck or a trailer. Because there ain't a whole lot of help at them places. I don't know if you've noticed. But here, I'll help the customer load, or I'll get the kids down here, I'll let them load. Simple conveniences like that will make a huge difference on your customer base. Because there's a lot of people who don't want to go to big box stores or lumber stores because they have to load for themselves. Good communication, helping the customer out, loading the lumber for them, things like that. So just, it's all a convenience. It's why those customers are going to choose you before going to a big box store. A customer usually remembers the experience longer than they remember the price. Words of wisdom right there. Now I've made plenty of mistakes over the years, probably more than most, but these 5 rules have saved me more money than any tool I've ever purchased. Now if you're just getting into sawmilling, learn these rules early. It can save you a lot of time and money. And if you've been at it for a while, maybe sharpen an extra blade, keep some extra grease on hand, or maybe just take a little more pride in every board that leaves your sawmill. And if you've got a rule you like to follow and you want to share it in the comments, please do. I'd love to hear it, and I'm sure everybody else would too. And I bet your butt, when I get the sawmill shed done, I'm going to have a chalkboard in here, some kind of board in here with a checklist. And I'm going to keep that checklist and go over it every single morning before I saw, just so I don't make these stupid mistakes that could be very costly to a sawmill, like running out of gas. Now I got to go to town and get some gas filled up so I can finish this job right here. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet and you enjoy this channel and you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button. It's free and it really helps the channel out. But that's all for today. Thank you for coming. We'll see you on the next video.